Hey, ladies and gents, and welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, where we talk about video games and everything happening in the industry, episode 172. As always, I'm joined by Jordan.
Jared, first of all, I'd like to say that I'm glad to have you here on this episode, and I'm also glad that you didn't bork the intro.
I appreciate it. I'm trying to avoid borking at all costs at this point in my life, so hopefully I do a good job of it. And also, Dom's here.
I don't know.
Dom the Bork Oreos.
I'd say you borked it pretty hard by not properly introducing this as a mukbang podcast. Because I'm gonna just fucking loudly chew Subway into the microphone for 20 minutes.
The power of editing.
No, I'm not really gonna do that.
Yeah.
So don't click away from the video, guys.
So this is gonna be our predictions podcast. It's by looking at the calendar, it'll be our last podcast of the year. You guys should be listening to this around the 29th of December. And every year, towards the end, we kind of look at the predictions we had for the prior year and make some more for the following year. Cool thing about next year, 2020, is we're getting 2 brand new consoles. We have a number of predictions related to those. We have some really big games coming out right before the next generation that are highly anticipated. If you want to hear that word ushered a lot, check out our previous episode where we talk about our most anticipated games and things of 2020. But yeah,
you can
so
anticipate that we might use that word again this episode as well.
Yeah. So first we're going to go over our predictions from last year, talk about which ones we got right, which ones we got wrong, crown our winner in terms of who got the most right, and then we'll be going over some questions I have regarding predictions for 2020. So we'll start off. The first question I asked you guys last year in 2018 was that in 2019, will the PS5, Xbox Scarlet both or neither leak? Now, this one is a little bit weird, and so all of us said both, to be clear. All of us said both, and I gave us all a correct answer for this. Because the PS5, there was information given out by PlayStation themselves, but the PS5 dev kit recently, quote-unquote, leaked. Hasn't necessarily been confirmed all the way by Sony, obviously, but developers and such have basically all but confirmed it. And then the Xbox Series X, the specs that we found out that were true upon its announcement were correct as well. The Windows Central ones that we went over a couple of times. So I don't know if you guys would agree that means that they both technically leaked, so all of us got that right.
Yeah, that's tough when we when the definition of leaked wasn't really pinned down to the most minute of details. I think this is close enough. I'm with you.
Well, the fact we all answered it both, it's like, okay, we either all get a point or we all don't get a point. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. So
yeah.
Next up, this one was pretty interesting. What won't happen in 2019? The options were Microsoft makes more studio acquisitions, no PSX in 2019, or no new Switch hardware revision. So, I answered, there won't be a PSX. Obviously, I got that right. Jordan predicted that there wouldn't be a Nintendo Switch hardware revision. That was wrong. We got the Nintendo Switch Lite. Dom predicted no PSX. So he also got that right. So if you're keeping score at home, Dom and I both have 2 points. Jordan has 1. And the Switch Lite was announced in June of 2019, just to clarify for Jordan's prediction. Next up, do we get a release date? This one's actually funny in retrospect, because less than a month later we found out this was wrong. Do we get a release date for Metroid Prime 4 at E3 2019? Oh boy, did we have that wrong. All of us said yes, and we all said that it would still be called that. Now, if you guys remember, around January 25th of 2019, Nintendo made the announcement that the game would be restarting development now in the hands of Retro Studios. So it didn't take us long to mess that one up. It's so weird that we didn't even see that game, right? We were so worried if it was going to release or not. We didn't even see it again. That game the development for that is interesting because we don't know exactly at what point restarting development is happening with Retro, if it's like legitimately from scratch or if they're taking what the previous team did and messing with it. So we'll see what happens. We were all too optimistic on that one, I would say.
I don't think so. I think we were, expecting the game to get a release date at E3 of this year when it got revealed, like 2 E3s ago? And we hadn't heard anything. I think we were all on point, and then lo and behold,
it made sense at the time.
Out of nowhere, they're restarting development. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I guess from a hindsight perspective, definitely too optimistic. But in the moment, yeah, you're right. We were justified in believing that we were going to see it released, and just the way that game has been handled is so odd, especially for a series that didn't necessarily ever sell super well. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how that game does on Switch. It'll probably sell really well because everything seemingly sells really well on Switch. So yeah, clean sweep there. All of us were wrong. Next up, do you think we'll see a new Marvel game partnership announced before 2020? All of us said yes. Shocker, all of us were right. There was a couple of games you could have chose from, but Marvel's Iron Man VR was the most notable new game. That was announced in March of 2019. During I want to say the first day to play, right? I believe the first day to play. I think it opened the first day to play. So not necessarily the AAA partnership that question kind of insinuated, but it was a partnership nonetheless, and we were all correct on that one. Next up, this one was funny as well to look back on. Will we be able to purchase a PS2 Classic, N64 Classic, neither or both, by December 31st, 2019? So, Dom, you said the Nintendo 64 Classic. We would have been able to purchase it by the end of the year.
Yeah, that was wishful thinking.
Jordan said the N64 Classic. So both of you guys were right there with that. Because there was a track record, with the NES and then the SNES. We assumed that if Nintendo was going to keep on that pace, we would have seen it. They just decided we're not going to continue that anymore. We're going to focus on the Switch. I said neither, so I luckily got it right. If I remember correctly, when we were talking about it, I was more hopeful that the PS2 thing was going to happen, which is so funny because how quickly the price dropped on the PlayStation 1 Classic in stores across the country because nobody was buying it. Oh, man. So funny.
And maybe, it's funny to think that maybe they were planning a PS2 Classic, but then they probably lost money on the PS1 Classic, or at least didn't meet, expectations, and just said, yeah, screw all that. Who knows?
Yeah, and it's in a weird place now because we're coming up on PS5, and we don't know how backwards compatible it'll be. So it's like, well, are we trying to work on getting PS2 games to work with PlayStation 5, and how's that going to do? And the PS1 Classic isn't selling very well. This was not a good time to, I guess, work on that as a priority, right? This is
a good opportunity to point out just the absolute failure. Jordan will describe this kind of thing better than I could, but just the absolute failure from Sony and the PS4 of not... Obviously, it's not backwards compatible with PS3, but you can't even play PS1 games on that thing. You can't play Final Fantasies and Castlevanias that you can play on the Vita and the PS3. How is that? That's just money that they should be making on people buying those games for the 8th and 9th, 10th time that they're just not, and that's weird.
Well, it's funny, and it's not even like they showed any effort
about that.
Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
I was just gonna say it's funny that you mentioned me speaking on that subject, Dom, because one of the recent shows that you weren't here for, I actually talked about that exact same thing.
It was the Game Awards Reactions
perfectly.
Episode. Yeah, we talked about that.
Perfectly.
You brought it up specifically. We were having the whole discussion because obviously the Xbox Series X was announced. We were talking about backwards compatibility for the PS5, and Jordan was talking about that, so it's really funny that you brought that up. Next up, another one that we got clean sweeped in terms of getting it wrong. Will Ubisoft have a game finished in the top 3 in terms of annual sales for 2019? Now, we all said yes, and this one is... I'm going to explain why we're all wrong, even though we haven't gotten the MPDs for December 2019 as of recording this.
We're all wrong because Ghost Recon shat the bed.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's why we're wrong.
But also, you have to remember there's also The Division, which is also a good seller. Because the first game was one of the best sellers of that year it came out. So, looking at the MPDs, as of the end of November 2019, the highest ranking Ubisoft game was The Division 2, and it's at number 7. And my thinking as to there's no chance why it's going to come into the top 3 is because that released in March, and currently the top 3 games are Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Madden 20 and NBA 2K20, which will all sell better over the holidays than the Division 2, right? So there's no chance it's in 7. It's not even like it's 4. So
Yeah.
we bet on Ubisoft, and Breakpoint just wasn't that. I think I remember that game already being on sale during the Game Awards, maybe for like $35 or something.
Yeah.
Really quick discount on that one, which is well deserved because that game wasn't good. Excuse me. Next up, this one we actually talked about earlier in the year, so we already knew the outcome of this. If you guys remember, what will review best? Days Gone, Dreams, Crackdown, or Yoshi's Crafted World?
Dreams.
I said Days Gone. Jordan said Crackdown 3. We both whiffed on that pretty bad. And Dom said Yoshi's Crafted World, and he actually got it right because Yoshi's Crafted World had the highest Metacritic.
How would you think that's the one? Like,
exactly.
No offense to Dom, but I
think the idea there is
like the one.
It's a Nintendo exclusive game, so the chances of being, I think it's like at worst it'll be like mid to high 70s, you know.
Yeah.
But
it was a stable pick. It was like this is gonna get a 7.5 Metacritic or like up to 8. You know.
Yeah.
Good, not great, but good, solid. You know what it is. You know it's cute.
So Jordan was very optimistic for Crackdown 3 just because we had a lot of faith in it, and I was for some reason like counter optimistic for Days Game, a game that I was like very critical of leading up to release. I'm like, I don't know if this game's gonna be good or not, but I'm like, oh yeah, during the predictions episode, it's gonna have the best reviewed score. I think it was probably my idea of like PlayStation exclusives usually reviewing well, you know. And the fact
if we're looking at the People's Choice Awards, I think that one would probably win this year because it really does have a lot of support from the
community.
The players.
Yeah. The cool thing for the Game Awards is they actually did a purely fan voted award, like a tournament style, and Jedi Fallen Order was included in that. It's some weird like caveat, even though it wasn't allowed in the other awards. And obviously Fire Emblem ended up winning. But I didn't look at the bracket itself. I'm interested to see if I go back and look how high up Days Gone finished. Because like you said, even though it was pretty much critically panned, maybe not that bad, but the community around it was like very hopeful and really enjoyed their time with it, you know? That Sons of Anarchy fandom, man. It's hardcore.
Sons of Anarchy fandom.
Next up, which of these games won't release in 2019? The Last of Us Part 2, Metroid Prime 4, Ghost of Tsushima, or Halo Infinite? Guess what, boys? Wow. None of those games released. Both Jordan and I said everything but Last of Us 2 won't release. So basically, we both thought Last of Us 2 was coming out this year. And Dom was like, no, none of them. The level-headed pessimist we all needed.
Wow.
He was like, nope, none of them are coming out. He got that right.
So really, if we had just picked one... If we have just picked one? Sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, me and you said that Last of Us Part 2 would come out, but nothing else.
Yeah, so I'm saying if we had just said, like, Metroid's not coming out this year.
Yeah, I think the way I centered the question, though, is we had to give an answer for all 4 games. So it was either you were right or wrong. It was like, are they all... yeah, there was no way to get that perfectly... right unless you said none, I guess. You'd either get it half
unless
right.
You were Dom.
Unless you were Dom. Next up, this is the second to last question prediction, and then we'll be getting into our final predictions, which are pretty interesting. So number 9, will there be an Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch exclusive all in the top 7 2019 MPDs? Now, Dom and Jordan, you both got half a point, and I'll explain why. I got it wrong completely because I said yes, Gears 5, Last of Us Part 2, and Pokemon would all be in the top 7. Obviously, Last of Us Part 2 didn't come out this year, and Gears 5 didn't sell all that well. And the Pokemon thing. So both of you guys said only Pokemon would be in the top 7. Now, it's technically not in the top 7 yet as of the end of November MPDs, but all of the news reports about it being the best-selling game in the series and all that stuff, I'm assuming that by the time the end of the year totals are put up for the MPDs, Pokemon will certainly be in the top 7. It's just not confirmed yet, so I gave you both a half a point. I figured that was a good middle ground there, since it's not factual yet, but we can assume that it'll
Seems
most likely
safe.
be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, both of you guys nailed that. I don't know where I was thinking. Man, I was just so high on Last of Us Part 2 coming out, man. 2 straight questions. Like, the game's coming out 2019. Not a problem. This one also is a weird gray area that I want to see if you guys agree with or not. Last question. Will Pokemon 2019, because we didn't even know it was Sword and Shield at this point, will the bundle for Switch feature custom Joy-Cons? If so, what color? So the funny thing with this is there was a Switch bundle, but it was Switch Lite, which we didn't even know existed yet. And because the Switch Lite doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons, the left side of it is blue and the right side of it is red in terms of the buttons. So it technically is colors of each version on each side, right, for Sword and Shield. All three of us said yes, and all three of us said there would be colors to match each version. So I gave us all a point, because I think that's correct. Because it did have a Switch bundle with custom Joy-Cons, technically, even though they're not, detachable. And they are for each version, that being red buttons on the left and, blue buttons on the left and red buttons on the right. So,
Yeah.
I think we got it. Without knowing that the Switch Lite existed, I'll give us that one. And like I said, it makes it easier that we all gave the same prediction, so we don't have to worry about, divvying up points and all of that. Now, our final predictions for 2019. These were ones that we came up with in the moment or maybe had written down before we started recording last year. My 3. First one, there will be a new Splinter Cell game announced before 2020. That didn't happen. Beep, beep, beep. Wrong.
Fucking goddamn it, Ubisoft.
2, Microsoft will acquire at least 3 studios. Beep, beep, beep. Wrong. They only got Double Fine. So 1, not 3. So I got that wrong. Last one. We'll know more officially about the next Xbox than the PS5 by December 31st. Ding, 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 boys. I got one right.
Nice, yeah. Good
So,
call.
yeah, thanks to the Game Awards.
Yeah, just
right there
in
on
time.
the cusp. Because if it wasn't for the Game Awards, it would have been PS5 because of the Wired articles that everybody read.
So wait, was the question we'll know more about it?
Yeah.
I guess we do know the same probably about each, but we've at least seen a picture of the
Well,
new
we know
Xbox.
more about them. We know individually the same amount technically, but we don't know what
Right.
the PS5 looks like, and we know what the Xbox
Yeah.
looks like. So
So it's close, but we got that photo unveiling of the old
PS5 better
Series
not
X.
look like a fucking V. That's all I
the
know.
dev kit, yeah. I want a second monolith. I want them both to come out with monoliths. And I forgot to say the final predictions. If we get any of these right, they're worth 2 points, not 1. So I got 2 points out of a possible 6. Now we'll go to Jordan's. First one, Majora's Mask type follow up for Super Mario Odyssey. Beep beep beep. Unfortunately, didn't happen. Hopefully this coming year, but yeah, didn't happen. Next up, Nintendo expands Labo at least 4 new sets. Beep, beep, beep. Labo was pretty much a commercial failure. They only released 1 new set this year, and that was the VR set. So, that was wrong as well. But the last one,
I gotta say, the beep 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 doesn't sound like
Yeah.
wrong.
It sounds
Okay.
like a good beep.
Well, I don't want to go like a loud
Yeah.
because it'll be not great on the podcast. So maybe I just won't.
You can make it a nicer, softer.
I'll do that. So, your last one. Microsoft announces next box before PS5. Ding, ding, ding. Boys, we got one right. I would say this is right. I marked it as right.
I mean, announces, I guess. I guess PS5 wasn't really announced because they never really. They did say the name, I guess, but it wasn't really.
Would you call those Wired articles announcements, though? That's my.
Yeah, I guess.
I would actually say that yes. That
Yeah,
is.
'cause-
But you also have them talking about Scarlet at E3, so
They did. Yeah,
So-
that's true.
The thing is that the intended way for this question for this prediction, the way I saw it personally, is that for me, announce is like on stage talking about the thing,
right.
not
but,
necessarily.
But Sony has. This is Sony being on stage. This is. The Wired article is even more in depth than what Microsoft has done on stage. So I consider it they are foregoing the traditional on-stage reveal route. So in lieu of that, they're doing these Wired articles instead. So I think that qualifies them.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Okay, so
Which
unfortunately,
I'm
Jordan,
fighting against
yourself,
myself, but I'm trying to be fair here, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, then. Unfortunately, it was a clean sweep of wrongs for Jordan.
Yeah.
For Dom, his predictions.
Big fucking surprise, Mr. Idiot over here.
Oh my God.
Stupid idiot.
Oh my God.
Dom's first prediction: the narrative around Fallout 76 will change. IGN will re-review it. Nope. They didn't do themselves any favors with delaying the big DLC that they showed at E3 either.
And they obviously had the opportunity, and it felt like this could have been accurate after E3, where they showed off like, the new expansion, and we're adding back in NPCs, and some people got excited about that. But then in the fourth quarter or whatever, they just went on us.
So I would see it as them turning around and be like in a bus, turning all the way around and going the opposite direction. This is like they turned sideways and kind of got stuck in the road, just between two walls.
Probably a good analogy, yeah.
Second one, new version of an Xbox with no disc drive and streaming focused. I give you half a point on this because there was the SAD, obviously, that released, but you couldn't say it's streaming focused. It's technically digital focused because
True.
xCloud hasn't fully rolled out yet and all that, Mm-hmm. So I put xCloud not focused yet because we know the intention is that it'll eventually be focused on xCloud, but that wasn't how it was necessarily marketed. So I give you half a point.
Fair.
Last one, Nintendo Switch revision. Ding, ding, ding. You got this one right. Lighter system and new battery. Doing some research, it did technically have a newer battery than the original, although the revision that the Switch got is the best battery, if that makes sense. So it has a better battery than the original Switch, but a worse battery than the Switch revision that happened earlier this year, I think. Remember there was a whole box confusion because they were like essentially being sold in the same box, but one Switch was better than the other.
Did I ever even tell you guys that I got the new battery model?
Yeah, I remember what that you told us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the final scores. Actually, I have to update Jordan's because he
Couldn't
argued
wait
against
for a
himself.
fucking pro model, could you, Dom?
Can't do it.
So Jordan comes up at 4.5 points. Would have been 5.5, but he argued against himself. I came in at 7 points, and Dom won with 8 points. Clean win, clean victory.
Mark your calendars, fellas. This does not happen often. It may not ever again.
It pays to be safe and a bit pessimistic at times. Maybe not pessimistic, realistic. It was a
Dom, are you gonna buy a pro model even still?
Of the Switch, absolutely.
Oh, jeez.
So
then this new battery model is useful for what, like 8 months maybe?
Yeah, I'm betting on at least one more year goes by before they come out with this pro model. But yeah, still not very long. You do have a solid point, but
well, that's the thing is it either has to hit.
To be around.
Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Around the new consoles.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe before or after, but I couldn't see it necessarily releasing in the fall or the holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gotta do something because otherwise they're just gonna look rough, man. It's gonna be reminding us of when it was the 480p Wii versus the 720 and 1080p Xbox and PlayStation consoles.
This isn't in the predictions, but it'd be interesting if their direction was not necessarily focused on hardware this year, maybe this year being 2020, maybe go next year, and for in 2020 to go with Breath of the Wild 2 and Super Mario Odyssey 2, just both in the same year like they did when they both originally came out.
Yeah.
To compete on a software level.
I don't think anybody's predicting a new generation of Switch consoles next year, so let me ask this. When do you guys think we're seeing Switch 2? Not a revision of the Switch, but a totally new console.
2023, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'll say 2023,
I think they'll go with alternate SKUs for a while before they.
2023, so that'll be 6 years basically.
Yeah, it's tough though because the
They
way
did it in the spring.
they handle hardware, it's like if they do like the new Nintendo New Switch or XL Switch or something. So, however they handle that.
Just think how fucking outdated even a Switch Pro would look in 2023.
Oh yeah.
When we're on like 8K screens and all this shit, like
when I got my Mass Effect Monolith and whatever the PlayStation 5 is sitting in my living room.
yeah.
So let's go over these 2020 gaming predictions. I've already written down mine, so I'll give them first after I say the prediction. Then you guys can let me know what you think. Just for the sake of the ease of answering, every time I ask one, I'll say my answer, then Jordan, you'll go, and then Dom, you'll go, okay? So, the first one. What will have the highest Metacritic score between these three games? Cyberpunk 2077, FF7 Remake, and Last of Us 2. I wrote down Last of Us Part 2. That's my pick. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake will have this isn't part of the prediction. I think it'll have the lowest of the three. I don't think it'll be super low by any means. I think Cyberpunk 2077 will have good reviews, but I think it will have a good number of people being like, CD Projekt Red didn't hit it like they did with Witcher 3. Like, being hypercritical, And I think Last of Us Part 2, in the best of ways, isn't going to be super different than The Last of Us Part 1, like branching out to try something completely different. So I think it's going to play it a little safe and get higher reviews because of that, because it does everything so well, and it's a tighter package, So
what's the likelihood of me getting a third person angle in Cyberpunk?
I would say if you include the like post-launch multiplayer mode that they're working on that they've announced, I would say like 75%. If you're not including that, if you're not including that, I would say 0.
Yeah, why? No, I'm talking about this single-player campaign.
Yeah, 0.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 5%. Maybe.
Sucks.
You can always buy it on PC, and someone will probably make that mod.
Yeah. So, Jordan, what do you think?
I want that clean version. I'm gonna go with Last of Us.
Last of Us. Dom, you gonna stick with us? Or you going for something different?
Yeah, The Last of Us is the safer choice here. Cyberpunk has the potential to have, or has a higher potential to have technical problems, I think. Nothing horrendous, but like it's a way bigger, more complicated type of game, right? Where The Last of Us is going to be at least, mostly linear, more contained, and Naughty Dog in general is always super polished with their stuff. But also, I think Cyberpunk has more of a potential to at least make a couple outlets that review games, have some kind of social issue with something they have going on in their games.
Oh yeah, most certainly, yeah.
They had that weird Cyberpunk. I mean, something along the lines of
there's going to be a Polygon article about the game,
right? Like something along the lines of, black women in this game are represented in a way that is offensive or whatever it is.
Well, even us, we talked about how at the demo, the initial demo revealed the Latino accent and like gestures were kind of a little generic. You know what I mean?
Right.
But that I did not feel like that was SJW overthinking.
Oh no, yeah.
Shit. That was like, dude, this is just bad. Well,
that's what I'm saying though. Is we're doing that on a more critical level, and Polygon and those type of sites have a tendency to look for those things outright where we just noticed it watching a trailer, if that makes sense. So I think it's way more likely. Yeah.
Dom, were you about to bring up the transgender ad that has already gotten picked up?
Ad.
There's an in-game ad where there's a transgender woman who has a bulge in her pants, right? Or not even pants, in her like onesie thing that she's wearing. Mm-hmm. And of course it got picked up and like people are freaking out like, how could you do this? But then the artist explained it to the point of like, yeah, this is an in-game ad where obviously in this cyberpunk universe you would have advertising agencies or whatever, trying to utilize, and you already do in our 2019 world, you already have people trying to, utilize transgenderism or whatever progressive movement is popular at the moment and advertise it and make it sexy and turn it into something that is monetizable. So people have to be able to have this type of commentary without, once again, like I said with Joker, it's like there's a difference between glorification and just straight up depiction. And so yeah, before the game even comes out, we're already looking at people tearing it down because it's depicting something that they find, obviously offensive, when in reality it is trying to show that this is the reality of that situation and what would happen in this cyberpunk world.
To Dom's point too with the performance, going back to the question real quick, Last of Us Part 2 is being developed by obviously a Sony first party and Cyberpunk by third party. So performance there is going to be on Naughty Dog's side. Sorry, Dom.
And they are only developing it for, well, we assume one console or one console with two versions of it. Whereas Cyberpunk is on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and so on.
Yeah. I don't know if you wanted to respond to what Jordan was mentioning or.
No, that's. I think we got all around it. I just think there's a lot more going on in that game socially that they could mishandle or perceived as being mishandled, whether it's justified or not. I mean, obviously we're talking about theoretical problems, so either way, I just think it has more potential for it.
And we also have the whole violence argument with Last of Us Part 2. Remember when that trailer dropped? It could happen as well, but obviously not as likely as with Cyberpunk.
Well, and it's not going to be politics with Final Fantasy Remake, but it is going to be...
gamer ticks.
Good point.
Not quite, Jared, not quite. It is going to be, the remake effect of it. It is the remake that has been most requested for the most amount of time. They were thinking about remaking this game on PS2, and even started working on it. Square Enix did. So this is, obviously one of the biggest Japanese role-playing games of all time that's being remade, and it's also, like I said, one of the most highly anticipated and requested remakes of all time. So that is all going to play into that situation as well, and is going to be very tough to live up to expectations. But it seems like thus far, obviously not everybody, but they have, a lot of people have come around to that game, to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Well, and from a review perspective, one thing that could be critically well or poorly received is how they decide to wrap up this game, since it's going to end at a point that obviously the original game didn't end at, right? And also game length.
Yeah.
We don't know how long the game's going to be because it is taking a section of the game, so those will be interesting to look at.
Yep.
Next up, this is on a simpler side in terms of some of the predictions. Will there be more state of plays or Nintendo Directs by the year's end? And I put a caveat: indie worlds don't count. So those sporadic Indie World little direct things that Nintendo does that are highlights of all the indie games coming. Those don't count those in your thought process. My prediction is Nintendo Directs. With state of plays, I think that maybe in a post PS5 launch they'll try to hit those more regularly. But the fact that we're likely going to see a reveal event on top of them likely being at E3, it's just there's going to be months in which those type of events take the place of a state of play. Whereas even with Nintendo for E3, we get a direct, So that's my thinking on that.
It's weird that looking at all the state of plays from this year, it all just equals up to one E3 conference.
Yeah.
If you really think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously you'd take some of the smaller stuff out and put a bigger focus on the bigger stuff, but maybe that is what they wanted to do, which is spread it out over the course of the entire year as opposed to one centralized event. But I don't know, man. I don't think that the state of plays were received that fucking well that it made up for what you lost by not going to E3.
Well, the two biggest announcements were third party, right? If memory serves me correct, because the biggest first party announcement we got at a State of Play was Last of Us date, which ended up getting delayed,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a cool trailer. Don't get me wrong, but I'm thinking of like the biggest announcements. That one kind of got deflated because the game got delayed less than a month later, and the other two big
Right.
announcements were RE3, and then something with Final Fantasy, right? Like one of the first State of Plays was Final Fantasy related. Maybe.
They had a long trailer in it.
Yeah.
But I don't know as far as exclusive announcements. If
They
it had
have
anything.
kind of been the highlight of a lot of State of Plays.
Because even Ghost of Tsushima was a teaser for Game Awards. It wasn't even the trailer.
Yeah,
So
jeez.
interesting to see how those play out. What do you think, though, Jordan? More directs or more State of Plays?
Directs.
Directs, okay. Dom?
That's a tough one.
The funny thing, I was going to add Inside Xbox is on here, but that's cheating because we know for a fact there will be 11. They don't do one in December, but we know there will be 11 because they do one every month. But I don't think that made it
Yeah.
interesting at all.
And that would be easy too because there ain't gonna be 11 State of Plays.
Exactly. So I figured
Um,
that makes more fun only having these two.
Yeah, man, I think I'm gonna say State of Play. I think they ramp these up. We see some more.
Interesting.
Ramp it up.
You also have to remember with the directs that unlike the State of Plays that we've seen so far, we don't know. They're early on in their lifetime. Directs can be specifically for one game too. Like Nintendo will put out a Smash specific direct, and that's still direct, Whereas we haven't seen State of Play do a game specific one, but who knows? With some big releases next year, they might do one of those. Next up, what will be the smallest and largest storage choices for both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X?
Great question.
So my answer, I think that both of them, the PS5 and Xbox Series X, will have a 1 terabyte and a 2 terabyte storage SKU. I don't think they'll go more than that, though I think they should. But with what the base price for these consoles are going to be, with the sheer power they're including, I don't know if they're going to be willing to give us a good amount of storage space. So that's my answer. Same
Hey,
thing, 1
Jared,
terabyte
real
and 2
quick.
terabyte. Yeah.
Remind me on last year's predictions on these questions that you're asking us. Did you get them all right?
What do you mean?
What was your score on the questions?
I got 7 points and Dom got 8. But the final predictions were like 2 points apiece, so I think I got like 5 out of 10 correct of the base questions.
Dom, I just realized this guy's over here yanking our fucking chain. He's the one that creates the questions and knows them and is able to think about them coming into the show and then just springs them on us in the middle of the show.
The thing is, I lost,
Figure
though.
things out on our toes.
If I won,
Yeah.
No,
I think
but
that'd be more of a concern.
But it was neck and neck, you know what I mean? Like, Dom really had to fight to overcome your cheating asses.
Cheating
Yes,
ass.
I am a filthy, filthy cheater. Yeah, so just to clarify again, PS5, Xbox Series X, a 1 terabyte and a 2 terabyte. That's my prediction.
Well, Jared, since you had extra time to prepare as a cheating ass, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna say 1 terabyte on the low end, 2 on the high.
Dom?
I'm definitely going to say PS5 is only going to have one option with 1 terabyte.
Okay.
Series X, I think, will also have one option with 1 terabyte.
The realists just bring us down. Man, it's... We're going to get those consoles day one, and like whatever launch titles they are going to be like 100 gigs a piece, dude. Like Halo Infinite, whatever the hell PlayStation has.
I just hope 2 terabytes is the most you can put inside a PS4 Pro. You can hook up a larger hard drive than that, but then it has to be external, which is the only way that you can do it on Xbox, which I don't like. I like the fact that you can do a quick and easy swap on PS4 Pro and PS4 and PS3. So I would like to be able to put something larger than 2 terabytes in there that doesn't need an external hookup.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
So this is off top. Well, it's partially on topic. The GameSpot video. I don't know if either of you watched it, which was like the exclusive video they got after the Series X was released. The guy who had talked to Microsoft, I think he was like the lead editor at GameSpot. He mentioned that it seemed like there could possibly, he can't confirm, there could possibly be a part in the Xbox Series X, like an empty part where owners will be able to put in internal storage. Like it's already carved out, so for people who want to boost their storage, Microsoft already designed like a place to put in more. But yeah, it's not confirmed. It's just something he had saw or I guess insinuated based on what they were talking about. So interesting point there.
I'm really starting to think that both Xbox and PlayStation are going to try to kind of change our tendencies a bit in regards to storage. Because I know, and I've talked about this before, because they mentioned like, oh well, now you're going to be able to just install parts of a game, and so on. But I think in general, because my habits have changed a lot as games have gotten bigger, I just only have so many installed at a time, and I just am installing and uninstalling and switching them out, which is not. I mean, I don't find that to be a pain at all now. But if they can make that process even quicker, which I think is going to be a big feature, especially when you have an SSD. It should be able to write quicker to the drive, so installing and uninstalling games should be faster, and it should be more acceptable to like expect people to, instead of just loading up on tons and tons of games in their hard drive, like when you can really only ever play, realistically, maybe some people rotate between a couple at a time, but you know what I mean. How, like, if you're honest with yourself, if you have like 50 games loaded on your hard drive, like how many have just sit there for months at a time, right? So I think they might try to like, and it might not be successful, but I think they're going to try to push our tendencies to, live with less installed at a given time.
I think
and that'll justify their smaller hard drives. Or
playing
SSDs.
devil's advocate, I would say that one, as somebody who doesn't really play a whole lot of multiplayer games, I think you would see that people who tend to play a lot more multiplayer games like to have all those options and hop in and hop out right from time to time. And I think one of the other problems with that specifically is data caps, right? In terms of having to remove games and download them all the time, especially with how big games are going to get with next gen.
Right.
I think Xbox with xCloud probably won't even care if you're downloading or not downloading games because you're not going to. You're going to be streaming them, right? Which will also be affected by data caps. Don't get me wrong, but it's tough, man. I think they do need to consider storage for people because the whole hullabaloo with the Xbox One, when it was originally revealed, of you can't play offline, it has to check in ever so often online, right? I think if you come out and I know you don't think they're going to come out and say this at the like reveal of either of these consoles, but if they message of like, hey, just delete the games you're not playing and download other ones, you know how gamers are. I don't,
and it would be, and that's why I mentioned it may not be successful, right? But I picture in a post reveal interview something along the lines of, someone asked like, well, what about the concerns about 1 terabyte not being enough? And Phil or whoever the latest Sony guy is saying something like,
your boy Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan, saying something like, well, we've engineered the solid state
drive. Gamers can go fuck themselves.
We've engineered the solid state drive to be able to, and the CPU to be able to write games to the drive much faster than ever before. Kind of like subtly saying, deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more to do with them wanting you to start streaming all your games, and that's a byproduct of like, the storage stuff too. Is like, why do you need storage when you can just stream it? Did you gave your answer, right? Yeah, you said both of them only one SKU, 1 terabyte. Next up, this is the opposite of the first question we had. What will have the lowest Metacritic score between A, Marvel's Avengers, B, Godfall, which was the PS5 launch exclusive game that was shown at the Game Awards, the looter slasher, I think is what they called it, or Bleeding Edge, which is Ninja Theory's in-between game, the melee combat, Overwatchy hero melee game. I said Godfall, just for the simple fact that it's a launch game and it's being published by Gearbox, and they don't have a really good track record with the games they publish, and the developer doesn't have a big track record either. Their only other game was a RPG card game thing. That's my bet. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was Bleeding Edge. But yeah, my choice is Godfall.
I kind of thought the same thing as you did after seeing that game. It kind of feels like it is being used as, launch system fodder, more or less.
Rise Son of Rome.
Stuff to get out on the new system that, they can advertise some parts of it as being new and cool, but there's not too much substance behind it. And this is based on what little we've seen of it. I just got that kind of vibe from it. Like, it's just one of those launch games that's just kind of there. It's kind of like mediocre or so.
Yeah. So your choice is Godfall as well?
Yeah.
Jordan?
Now, remind me what the question is here?
Which one will have the lowest Metacritic score?
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
You need the choices again?
I think it's going to be Bleeding Edge.
I could definitely see that. That was my second choice.
Yeah, I could see that too.
I'm worried about that game.
I think Avengers will be fine.
Now that we've seen Hellblade 2, I could give two damns about Bleeding Edge, personally.
Two dams?
I couldn't give two damns.
As opposed to two shits?
Exactly. I hold
I think
my
it's
dams.
a single dam. It's a single dam. I couldn't give a dam.
Or two shits. Hey, man, I'm changing the game. I'm evolving it.
One
You
shit
ever
on two
notice
dams.
that, Dom? Jared will just like take phrases and just like make an amalgamation of two different phrases and kind of mix and match together.
Well, I like it though because
Very
it makes
creative.
you
Very
question. Yeah, it's creative, but then it makes you question who came up with the phrase "I don't give two shits." Why
Right.
two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
And
man,
why
I'm on
give
the
a shit at all?
I'm on
What
the
does that even
bleeding
mean?
edge.
Yeah, you don't give a shit, and then somebody was like, "Well, I don't give two shits."
Yeah. Okay.
None of us chose Marvel's Avengers. I think that game has a chance to be good, not great, and even at its worst, I don't think it'll review terribly. Whereas
Right.
with like Godfall and Bleeding Edge, I think they have a chance to not review very well at all. We'll see. Next up, this is kind of a doozy, so you kind of got to pay attention. I'll probably have to say the question over and over again for you guys. So, which games will we see in 2020? Pick as many or as few as possible. There's not a long list. It's decently long. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Before you start,
8.
when you say "will we see," do you mean like release or just see anything of?
Literally anything. I made it vague
Okay.
on purpose. So it's a reveal trailer, even a confirmed leak, a Jason Schreier confirmed leak, not a random Reddit user. It has to have some like Eurogamer Jason Schreier confirmed to it, just so it's real and we're not staring at some weird thing somebody made in Maya. So the games are, and I'll say them again for you guys. So you after I give my answer: Metroid Prime 4, Bayonetta 3, Cuphead 2, Fable 4, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, Bloodborne 2, a new BioShock game, or technically the new BioShock game, and a new Batman game. So my answer is 5. I think we'll see Metroid Prime 4. I think we'll see Bayonetta 3. I think we'll see Fable 4. I think we'll see Horizon Zero Dawn 2. And I think we'll see a new Batman game. Now, Jordan, you're first. Would you like me to say all the games again?
Yeah. So, which of these games we're gonna see in 2020?
Yes, in any
And
capacity.
it has to be. It doesn't even have to be official. It could be a creditable leak.
Exactly. And you don't have to pick any at all, by the way. You can pick as many or as few as possible. So the games are as follows. The easy way to remember it is it's
Wait.
two Nintendo games, 2 Xbox games,
Just
2
say
PlayStation
it,
games.
you
2
say
third
them,
party.
and I'll respond out loud.
Okay, I'll count them on my fingers then, as you say yes or no. Metroid Prime 4.
No.
Bayonetta 3.
Yes. Yes, Metroid.
Okay,
Oh,
'Cause
Bayonetta
they're
3.
gonna have at some point. They're gonna have to be like, okay, we figured it out, guys. We did something.
Re-reveal the logo. Bayonetta
Yeah, so
3.
yes. Yes.
Cuphead 2.
No, because they still haven't even released the DLC.
Yep. And that doesn't count as Cuphead 2, by the way, for those listening. Fable 4.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be called Fable 4. It's the next Fable game, okay? Just for clarification. We assume it's going to be Fable 4, but it might be a reboot of the series. So,
Yeah.
Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
Yes.
Once again, clarification for this one. If it's called Horizon something else, but it's a follow-up, still counts. Bloodborne
Man.
2.
Horizon 1 Dawn.
Because you know that like at least 25% of the reason they gave it the title Horizon Zero Dawn was to like give future creative possibilities for sequel titles or something, right? Like,
Yeah, the
put
heartbreaker,
us-
Jordan. Bloodborne 2.
You know what, Jared? I don't even give a fuck. You know I'm saying yes. And if it hurts me, so be it. Because I want Bloodborne 2 to be revealed. I don't want to hear a single fucking word from Miyazaki about this game until he's ready to give me some concrete evidence. None of this, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to tease you with all these monumental connections that we placed in this game. Ugh.
Last two, BioShock. Any new BioShock
Yes.
game. We assume the one that we heard that's been worked on. And a
Yeah,
Batman
so
game.
just to be clear, you told me when Dom wasn't here that they've got like a new studio that they're bringing people in and they're doing that game, but it had already been worked on in some capacity beforehand. It's not from
Yeah, the
scratch
Jason Schreier
necessarily.
report said the game was in development for like 2.5 years, and then they crushed the project, and then they founded this new studio called Cloud something, and they're starting work on the project. That's officially from 2K.
So really they are restarting it.
Yeah.
So maybe not. No.
And Batman.
No.
Any new Batman game. That could be from WB Montreal. It could be from Rocksteady. It could be
Eee, jeez, man. I mean, who do we got to blow around here to get a fucking Batman game? You know what I'm saying, Dom?
Jim
Like,
Gordon.
Good lord. Yes, Jared. Fucking God, yes.
Okay, Dom.
Bloodborne 2 and Batman, yes. Can I just get a tease, if nothing else?
Dom, you need the list again?
Yeah, let's go through it the same way.
Okay,
Yeah,
Metroid
yeah.
Prime 4.
Absolutely not.
Bayonetta 3.
Yes.
Cuphead 2.
No.
Fable 4.
No.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yes.
Bloodborne 2.
No.
BioShock.
Yes.
Batman.
No.
Don coming in at a spicy 3 out of those 8 games. We'll see
The
what happens.
Batman one hurts me because I think it feels like it's been so long, but I think like we get another year of blue balls on that one.
Yeah.
My
I'm surprised you didn't go for
lord, how
Fable
long
4.
can we go?
That game's all but confirmed from Playground Games. I just think it's going to be a showpiece at the E3 for the Series X, you know.
Not
Yeah,
2020.
You gotta think that like some of this stuff is what they're gonna use as fuel for the fire. Is
Yeah.
you know
Games
next-gen
years off.
launches.
Yeah. Next up, will both, neither, or one of either Xbox or PlayStation. So you're either choosing either both Xbox and PlayStation or one or the other, right? You're picking a specific one. Will they hold a reveal event before E3? So that's the first part of the question. So you're answering, is Xbox holding a reveal event? Is PlayStation neither or both? Then the second part of the question is, if so, what month? So for me, I think both of them are holding a reveal event, and I think PlayStation's will be in February, and I think Xbox's will be in April. Theirs isn't technically a reveal event, but you know what I mean by that. So, Jordan, what do you got?
I'm just gonna copy what you said, Jared,
Okay.
because I have no idea, and that seems good enough to me.
Hey, it's actually a smart strategy because if I get it wrong, you get it wrong, and if I get it right, you get it right. So, Dom, what do you think?
I'm gonna say there will be a PlayStation 5 reveal event
Okay.
in March.
And it's okay. They're gonna rent out an arena, and then they're just gonna put a text document on
From
screen
Wired.com.
from a Wired writer that everyone just reads, and then they're like, "All right, thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye."
And
But-
Xbox, yes or no?
Xbox will not have a reveal event other than they will talk about next gen a lot at E3, but
Okay.
other than that, like before that, they won't have, like a live reveal event for any next gen stuff. I think they may have like some interviews or release some blog posts or whatever about some specs or some things, but no big like reveal event in that same kind of format.
Okay. Remember, they have Inside Xbox they do monthly, so
Right, so that could be an outlet, right?
Well, that would be considered a live event. Inside Xbox is a live.
Oh, it's live? Oh.
Yeah.
Inside Z-Box.
Well, I guess, I mean, then we can make the prediction specific to that. So, like, yeah, they could talk about some details at one of those. But I feel like that's not...
Well, when they hold a special one, they actually change like the naming convention of it, and it's actually like an event. Like they'll be like, "Oh, this is the Xbox
This is
One S."
outside Xbox.
Yeah, outside
Okay.
Xbox.
So my Xbox...
I'm trying to help you.
yeah, my Xbox communications ignorance is showing. Because that I could see, like, they already have those lined up throughout the year. So, yeah, I could see them changing the title of one to be like, more info on Series X or, more info on the new Series S that they had, damn it, Jared.
Pick a month.
See, this is why I just hopped on Jared's bandwagon.
Yeah.
You said
Guys,
March for PS5.
I think February we're
Okay.
going to get some inside Xbox knowledge on not Series X, but
Series
some other
S.
next gen, Series
something.
S or whatever.
Yeah. Next up, will PlayStation be at E3, do a PSX, both or neither in 2020? I said E3 only. I don't think they're doing a PSX 2020. That's pretty much my answer.
That's tough, man. Definitely E3.
Okay, so I'll write down E3 first for you.
Yeah. I think I'm going to say yes to PSX. I think they bring it back.
Yeah, I mean, this would be the year to do it, right, with the console launch.
Yeah. And I don't think that you get any crazy announcements at it necessarily. Some smaller stuff, but I think it'd be, super for the fans type of a thing.
It'd be the best time to... Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
I think that Sony will be at E3 next year,
Okay.
but there will still not be a PSX.
Okay, you're with me on that one.
PlayStation
Yeah,
experience.
it's just like looking at Jim Ryan's face. That doesn't look like the type of guy that wants to spend extra money on a fan event. Yeah.
But maybe Herman
Or just wants to
Hoist,
spend extra
whatever.
time with the fans either.
We have to believe in Herman, Dom. If
Yeah.
he can put it in word edgewise. If
Like,
not,
Jim,
there's no chance.
You don't even have to go. I'll plan the whole thing. Just come on, let us do this. Just sign off on it.
Yeah.
It's put in a good word or get a word in edgewise.
What did I say?
Put in a word edgewise.
I could have sworn I just said put in a good word.
No, you said put in a word edgewise.
Oh, my bad. Anyways, next question.
I'm just making fun of your phrasing sandwiches.
Hey, in the moment, man, hosting a podcast, it's tough. You just gotta do whatever comes out of your mouth.
Yes, you do.
Next one. How much will the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 cost? We're talking about the base general SKUs. I said $500 for both.
I'm going 500 for Series X, 400 for PlayStation 5.
Okay. My thought
I'll
process
agree
is
with
that they're
you.
supposed to be similar in power, so my assumption is that they'd both be around the same price.
I think the Series X is going to end up coming in a little bit beefier.
Little bit beefier.
Jared, although I may have just utterly insulted your intelligence or lack thereof, I will agree with you in this instance.
Nice. I'm just writing down Dom's. Both 500 for Jordan. Okay. Next one. Will the Xbox launch with 2 SKUs on day one? I'm not counting the separate storage stuff. We're talking Series X, Series S, the Project Lockhart that's rumored. And will there be a day one edition? If you guys remember, for the Xbox One, there was a day one edition,
Yeah.
a special pre-order edition.
Yeah. There's one for the
Scorpio.
X as well.
Yeah.
They
So
love
I
that
put-
shit.
Scorpio.
I put no, it'll be 1 SKU. The Lockhart won't come out on day one, and there will be a day one edition. So no and yes.
Once again, Jared, don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. I think you're a genius, man, because I gotta agree with you.
Dom?
I'm going 2 SKUs, get your Series X, your Series S. And yeah, Scarlet Edition comes out exclusively as a Series X variant, right? So there won't be a day one edition for the Series S, though.
Oh yeah, because what was the code name for the X? Scorpio.
Yep.
Yeah, it was the Project Scorpio edition. So yeah,
Yep.
Project Scarlet edition makes sense.
Scorpio.
This question kind of goes hand in hand with the discussion Jordan and I had for the Game Awards.
It's hand on hand, Jared.
What did he say?
Hand in hand.
I'm kidding.
Oh.
It is hand in hand. I was fucking around.
What?
Hand on hand with this.
So this goes hand in hand with the conversation Jordan and I had for the Game Awards reaction podcast. So, what shape, orientation, and color will the PS5 be? And the second part of this question is, will it be more curvy or modern rigid? Jordan had this discussion about the difference in design philosophies for both Xbox and PlayStation, and the PS4 Slim is the one with like the smoother edges, right? And I think the Pro also has that design as well, with the added like middle patty.
It's weird because the Pro
think...
they're both more rounded, the Slim and the Pro, but the Pro has like the angled front, so it kind of has both of those. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're gonna go back to rounded. I think the shape of it is going to be the traditional pizza box console shape. Not sure about size. Orientation, honestly, that's none of our business. And yeah, what was the last question?
Curvy or modern / like more rigid geometrical lines.
Yeah, curvy. Curvy, rounded. Though, once again, whatever they decide, however they want to live their life, if they want to be a little bit more rigid and modern, that's fine. But if they decide to kind of just let loose and be more curvy, whatever, it might depend on their orientation. So I'm gonna let this joke die in a fire now.
Yeah, well,
for me, I'm gonna go shape more square than rectangle. So kind of the pizza box thing there.
Now, what did you actually mean by orientation? You're talking about like how it stands, like
basically the primary way it's shown off. So obviously, like with the Xbox Series X, it's primarily shown off vertically, right? But they did confirm you could lay it down horizontally.
Yeah, I mean the PS4, PlayStation systems have often been shown off vertically, but you never.
You need a stand.
Like you have to buy a separate stand. Yeah. So I would say that that's not necessarily a good indicator. I will say that what is the normal practical usage in the home, I think that PlayStation is going to be the standard orientation. Like I said, it's going to be a pizza box scenario.
Yeah, flat. I went horizontal with you too. Color, you didn't say it, but I'm assuming your black is your assumption for the color of the PS5.
Ooh, yes.
Same, and for the actual like design of it, I think it's actually going to go more towards rigid, like modern design, not so much curvy. A lot of harsh edges.
So, you think they're going to go all Microsoft with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dom, what's your prediction?
I wish I could say that thing is going to be gray, like a PS1. But it's going to be black, of course, because why do anything crazy, I guess. Fuck me. It's going to be...
is so crazy.
It's going to be regular pizza box style, as Jordan pointed out. Not, I don't know what you call it, like, not like PC case style, like the Series X.
Yeah.
Pizza box. I think it's going to go more towards, like, PlayStation 4 original. I think they seem to like that angled front on these things in general. I think they keep that and the sharp edges. Something else to make it different from a PS4, but I think it's going to look similar to a PS4, so like hard, sharp edges and angles and shit like that. Missing
I think you
anything?
got everything. Yeah. Final predictions. Here are my 3. Doubling down on this one that I got wrong last year, we'll finally see the reveal of a proper Splinter Cell game in 2020, not some weird inclusion in a mobile title.
Wow. Just trying again.
Wheeling it into existence. 2, the third version of Pokemon Sword and Shield will be announced and released in November. And 3rd, we will see the return of Banjo-Kazooie and Viva Pinata. Those are my 3 predictions.
Whoa. Some boldness there. Some spiciness.
I mean, Viva Pinata is such a launch franchise, for a console, so I could totally see it. Banjo-Kazooie, I think, is a lot less likely, but who knows? Jordan, what are your 3?
I'm gonna try to just will things to existence here because, I'm not necessarily caring about winning, right? And I don't think that it's gonna happen anyways. So, I think that we are going to launch with a new SSX game.
Oh, cool.
I think that Sony will have its own Elite controller, and I think that Sony will also announce. I'm not going to specify whether it's an acquisition or creation of a new studio, but there will be another studio underneath the Sony umbrella by the end of 2020.
Cool. Dom, what are your 3?
So a lot of this we talked about in those questions, but I think it's worth making this as one whole prediction of next gen Xbox looks like 2 separate SKUs, Series X and the Series S, coming in at $400 and $500, and then PS5 is just one SKU at $400. 1 terabyte across the board for all 3 of these guys.
Yeah.
I'm trying
It's
to
interesting
think
that you would think that the smaller SKU would be 400. Have you read the rumors about how it's power and everything?
Yeah, I debated if maybe it's closer to 300 or 350 or something, because it's supposed to be less powerful, right?
It's supposed to be a little bit more powerful than the Xbox One S. It's going to be focused on streaming. Those are the rumors,
I read something
anyways.
Different. Maybe. Yeah. I think I read something about
300.
I'm still gonna go with 400.
Okay.
At least based on one thing I read, which may have not even been a valid rumor, but that it's less graphically powerful than a 1X, but has more CPU power, much more than a 1X. So it will be able to play, the Scarlet, or rather the Series X exclusive games, because it has similar CPU power, but it will do so at a lower frame rate or resolution because the GPU power isn't up there. But as far as physics and the stuff the game is doing, it can keep up in that regard.
So 2 SKUs at launch, one 500, one 400.
Yeah.
You're not sticking to the the Series S name, right? You're just saying 2 SKUs.
I mean, I'll say S. I think that's. Well, yeah. I mean, I'll just put it in there. If it costs me half a point, so be it. The fact that they did Series X, I don't know. That seems indicative, right?
Well, yeah, there will definitely be another SKU. It's just whether or not it'll be at launch.
Yeah,
you're right.
But I like those
SKUs.
I like those price points, and I think PS4 will compete, or rather PS5 will compete with that lower one, as opposed to. I think Series X is that thing's a fucking cannon, dude. I think it's gonna be way more powerful.
Cannon.
And the way Phil talked about it, we will not be out of position on power. Okay, man. I'm getting out of the way.
We have for the Game Awards reactions podcast, Jordan and I talked about how currently it's unclear what the PS5 can fall in between 8 teraflops and 12. Obviously, the Xbox Series X is at 12. So if it comes in at the lower end, then obviously Series X will be the market leader. We're just not clear on how powerful it is in comparison. We'll find out more later. What's your second prediction?
Elden Ring will release in 2020.
Ooh, awesome. Hope it happens.
In April. No. I gotta feel this one. June.
God, it's going to be that game everyone has to review during E3. That'd be so funny.
Shit. Yeah,
it happens. It happens. Yeah, it happens.
I think I just got a vibe. They FromSoft has always been like in the March range. I mean, like at least the past this generation, they've been in the March range. But I think this one slips a little bit. But I still think it's a 2020 game, and it comes out in the first half of the year.
And your last one?
I had originally planned to say we will not get another peep out of Metroid Prime 4, but we kind of already answered that one. Oh, I remember my backup was we get a new game announcement from Kojima Productions.
His next project? Is it? Do you think we'll get I mean, this doesn't have to be towards your prediction, but do you think it's a project name or an actual title?
I think we get
or nothing, and it's just a teaser with a Kojima production at the end. Not even.
I think it's like
it's
a cinematic.
Just Ludens, and he's got like a logo on like a card. It's like, hey, this is the logo for our next game.
No, I mean we're all around it, right? I think it's a cinematic trailer with no title, obviously no release window or anything like that, but then just the Kojima Productions logo at the end. And that's it. And it's nonsense, of course. It doesn't make any sense.
It just says kill two birds with one carpe diem.
None of us have really gone through Death Stranding, have we?
No.
No chance, yeah.
I was going to ask if Ludens is a part of that game at all.
I don't know. I think that's everything. Yeah, we got all the predictions. So, Dom is the current champion. We'll see if by year's end, Jordan or I unseat him for that the belt or the trophy or whatever it is.
I don't think so.
We'll see. You never know. This has been our last. This has been our last episode for 2019. Thank you guys for listening or watching. However, you guys enjoyed the podcast on a weekly basis for this year. We'll be returning next year. Going to be talking about Game of the Year, and we'll probably talk about our most anticipated. There's that word again. Games at some point again.
Oh shit! Jared, you were saying two birds with one carpe diem. I get it.
Yes.
I get it. You were making up an amalgamation phrase.
Yeah, it's actually a lot harder when you think about it. When you're like,
no,
what two
it
phrases
is.
can I
it
put
is.
together?
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate the support. We're looking to grow more in the next year. And it's pretty much it. We'll catch you guys on the other side. If you can, please follow us on iTunes. Leave a review. It definitely helps us move up in the algorithm. Go to YouTube, search Controlled Interests. We'll pop up. If you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell notification because it'll alert you when we post new videos. You can't trust the YouTube sub boxes. And if you enjoy the podcast, hit the like button on YouTube. That helps us out in that always changing and evolving YouTube algorithm. And lastly, if you want to go over to Twitter, individually, you can follow us at Jared _. That's for me. Jordan, you can follow at Mellowmodus. And Dom, you can follow at Dom's Oreos. And our group account is Controlled Interests at CTRLINT. That's Controlled Interests abbreviated. All of the new videos get tweeted out there. Sometimes I make jokes about video games and pop culture stuff. That's pretty much it. We'll catch you guys in the new year. Have a great holiday and a new year. Bye.